This story, the IEC is welcoming the Electoral Court's decision to postpone 8 by-elections that were scheduled for today. The court this morning authorized the postponement for a period not exceeding 120 days. The Commission applied for the postponement following the implementation of Level 4 lockdown restrictions. The by-elections were set to take place in 48 wards in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape and the Western Cape. Former Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke is heading an inquiry into whether free and fair elections can be held this year as well under safe conditions. Of course, this as South Africa is continuing to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. Political parties and civil society have been making oral submissions today ahead, of course, of these municipal elections that have been set for October. My colleague, Khayelihle Khumalo, is following the inquiry, joining us now on the Midday View. Kaya, good afternoon. What's the prevailing theme in terms of presentations that have been made by various parties in IEC hearings today?
Well, President, at this point, the picture is varying. You do have those who are stating vigorously that the local government elections should continue, but then you do have those who are saying that COVID-19, especially in South Africa with the Delta variant and many other concerns around this particular virus, is that there shouldn't be any elections, at least at this point, given the very seriousness and the number of cases that you have seen. And obviously from the very outset, Justice Moseneke has always been saying that democracies across the world have been really facing an unprecedented time when it comes to the elections, whether do they go ahead. So one particular submission has been made by a leader of one movement, SA, that of course Mr. Musa Maimane, and obviously in terms of his very submission that he made was that there should be a go-ahead in terms of the elections, but of course in terms of the vaccination, that should be ramped up to make sure that so many South Africans are protected from the harshness of this particular virus, and this is what he had to say.
The COVID scenario is a scenario with us. It is going to be with us for a number of years, and ultimately we cannot depart from what is our constitutional provision of being able to hold elections every 5 years and simply just say we will postpone for a number of months or years given the state. Second is that I think the state of local government is in and of itself a challenge. One, the mandate given to the political parties expires, as you and I would know, but the expiration has got consequences on 2 other pieces of legislation, which is the Municipal Finance Management Act and ultimately the Municipal Systems Act, which by those are dependent on a public mandate both for the IDP and the budget to be passed. And so you would then be asking citizens to sponsor their subsidiary votes to political parties who effectively don't have a mandate. And that would put a risk to the socio-economic conditions that citizens find themselves in. And I would urge that if the consideration is made that the IEC's holding of elections on the 27th of October is a super spreader event, that could be the prevailing conditions for other super spreader events sponsored by political parties on the streets where they feel that a mandate ought to be sought in one way or another. And if it cannot be expressed in the ballot, it ought to be expressed elsewhere. So I do think that a postponement could have very serious implications for what municipalities do going forward. And I don't think that that should be dismissed simply by saying it should not be dismissed as a variable, because it is going to be a crucial variable going forward.
Well, Kaya, clearly this is going to be a massive task for the former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke, because there's so much unknown and uncertainty around.
Well, precisely, Praden, especially because just a short while ago, Justice Moseneke said, well, the scientists have been telling him to find a sweet spot and strike a balance between making sure that South Africans do have an ability to exercise their democratic rights, but also in the main making sure that it does protect the lives of South Africans who are facing this particular variant. So he's going to hear quite a lot of submissions today. It's going to be really interesting as well to hear perspective from young people as well. Also, we do understand many other political parties as well will come forward, but also most importantly, he's going to make a submission once the oral hearings have been concluded to the IEC. And it's quite interesting in light of the postponement of the by-elections that now are essentially affecting over 71,000 voters. So in a way, this is really just setting a scene for this particular inquiry to factor in quite a lot of factors in this regard.
Thank you very much, Khayelihle Khumalo. Then update there on the ongoing hearings headed by former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke into the municipal elections, whether they can be held under safe conditions. Of course, they have to be free and fair as well.